Hello, everybody. I think my audio is working now. I have Leah joining me shortly. I just got home from work, so I'm, getting there. Just made my sign. It's all wonky. I gotta fix it really quick and do that while I talk to you. Oh, wait, Leah's here. So I'm gonna let her in and I'm gonna fix it while I talk to her.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Good to meet you. I'm like, I would say good to see you, but I can't see you yet. That's usually the case. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for doing this.
It's so good to meet you. I always have this sign made, but I was also having a day. So I'm like working on the sign with your name on it now, and it's all crooked as shit. So I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. So Matt Schooley tagged you in that
Yeah.
post. So we've never met. So tell my guests about yourself and how you're involved in the music community, I guess, to start.
Yeah, so if you connected through Matt Schooley, he plays percussion in my 10-piece Afrobeat band called ATOMGA. We've been around almost a decade. I think April's the 10th year anniversary, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm a saxophone player first and foremost, or the origin of this whole music thing. I also play in an electro funk band called Tnertle. That's kind of this big spectacle.
I've heard of Tnertle. I've never seen
Yeah.
you guys, but I've heard of you.
Nice. And some other projects. And then kind of my focal point these days is I do marketing and PR primarily for Color Red, which is a music platform that releases and collaborates with artists, releases music and collaborates with artists all over the world, as well as New Conscious, which is a social club around the arts that's based in Denver.
I've never been there. A lot of my friends have been going, and I'm like, I'm so jealous. I'm only an hour north. I don't know why I don't go, but I can't wait to get there. It looks so cool.
No.
Are you heavily involved there, or like you doing marketing? You said involved.
Yeah, so marketing and PR, although it's fun in COVID times, like you've just got to adapt and wear so many hats. Like, one thing that kind of sets us apart is our founder, Kurt. He's a visual artist, so he has like all of his digital illuminated artwork throughout the gallery, and I'm a musician, so we kind of have like this artist to artist vibe when collaborating with artists and booking talent who happen to be like our friends and collaborators. I do a lot of the booking there, but marketing and PR is kind of, the A game.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a weird world. I started with a loose leaf talent agency last January. Had my
Cool.
baby in February, and then everything shut down. So I basically didn't do any. I mean, I'm still working with them, but it's a lot of just like trying to do marketing and now content creating for our, own. I don't know what you even Jamcast network. It's like our own streaming platform.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. Like like I said, I've worked with Matt and Emily a ton, and yeah, really love everything they have going on.
It's pretty rad. So the original framework, I guess, for the show was stories of women's triumphs, traumas, and evolution in the music community. So you've evolved a lot, right? But do any of those stand out to you as something that you would like to talk about, I guess?
Yeah. Well, first off, I should have asked this when we started. Is this live or are you editing?
It's not live. It will be aired later, but I don't.
I know. I'm just like screwed up a couple of questions. My freaking blinds are driving me nuts right now.
I seriously, my videos are always a hot mess. Basically, I don't know how to edit. This is all very new for me. So, I like even doing it live freaked me out a little too much. So it's like, no, I can't do like I'm gonna record first and then do it kind of bi-weekly or whatever. So I think this one will air in March, I think. But yeah, so no, I lost it. Oh yeah, so did you have any other questions, I guess, before we continue? It's not live, but it will be.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that makes it a lot better because then I could be like, nope, I said that wrong. want to redo. It's got
Yeah.
to be my own publicist.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. But to answer your question, so you said it was women's triumphs, struggle.
Traumas or yeah, struggles. I mean, just as being a woman in the world, right? Like our experiences are different than our male counterparts. So like when I started doing this, I for one missed live music a shit ton and like missed being able to just talk to random people and you know what I mean, just those kind of experiences. And it was when all this base nectar stuff was coming out and like
Yeah.
it just was like, oh, like we need to be talking to each other more and like supporting each other more
Yeah.
always, so that's kind of why I'm here. And so that was where my head was at, was like I want women to be able to talk about their struggles but also like what has gone really well for them,
Mhm.
and just like because even my evolution is so like I started out as like a street teamer because I was poor and needed to go to shows.
Uh-huh.
I was like, let me put up flyers. And
Yeah,
then
you're like, done
I
deal.
finished, yeah, and like was a cocktail server and just a server at the venue,
Mhm.
not just, it's a huge gig, right? Like that's
Uh-huh.
important too. But and then from there, like I don't know, just weird winding road that got me to like this point right now.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
even if you have insight as far as like how your road has changed a lot, over the 10 years or so.
Yeah.
I mean probably longer if you're a musician.
Yeah, I'm like,
You learn how to play how long ago.
yeah, like I'm definitely down to, yeah, kind of cover, like I haven't been through anything like super traumatic, but as far as like the music industry as a whole, it's definitely not a level playing field. And, a lot of what I'm doing now is, trying to be is mindful and active as possible, like not even just, making sure women have equal opportunities or male counterparts, but seeing what other underserved or marginalized communities are underrepresented, just overall as a whole, and how to present and provide solutions to turn the tides and make things
Absolutely.
change.
Yeah. I mean, and even just like live music, I'm seeing so many more female like musicians like really standing out.
Mhm.
And it's so empowering. And I don't even know that I realized how much that female presence was missing until maybe just a year or two ago, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
there's a woman on the stage, and then I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, where are all the women at.
And like, yeah, and to be perfectly honest, like, it's so awesome, like having opportunities to be like, what are your struggles, or, how can you empower others, or, you know, what are active solutions? But, as far as like vision and goals, like I can't wait for there to be a day where like people don't have to turn heads and be like, wow, look at like that short girl playing a big ass saxophone. Like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
like
We're all
normalize it, or
people
like,
here.
less of a tokenism thing, like, common ground, and like, there's lots of ensembles that are like all female groups, which is awesome. Like I'm all about that, but it's like, I've been approached with a couple opportunities and it almost like where it's not even being put together by women. So I think that's like the main caveat in that, where I'm just like, okay, if this is like organized like for women or someone that I trusted, but like if you're like a dude trying to like, toss together an ensemble of a bunch of women, like I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
And also, just kind of a numbers game, like you see all too often. Like, maybe I'll relate this back to my background. Like a big band in jazz music, there's 5 saxophones, 4 or 5 trombone players, 4 or 5 trumpet players, in a rhythm section. And like even like big touring ensembles, like, of that size. And all too often, you're still looking at those groups and you're just like, this is all white men.
Yeah.
So, like, at what point do you get to where it's like you are intentionally not finding women or people of color, underrepresented communities? Like, they're like, shit, get in touch. I'll give you names. And again, like, it's, a double edged sword, because you've got to like make sure you're not just checking boxes or,
Yeah.
tokenism, but it's like, dude, like, so much talent is out there. Don't be lazy, and make sure you are representing everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've had conversations with a few musicians about that too. Just like, so like, how do you, it's such a weird line because I guess this was a conversation more about like our people of color in America and how they've been treated, right? It was a racial
Mhm.
discussion group, and it was like, so how like the crowd is always like white men, like how do we, like, is there anything we can do to bring diversity to, like, you know what I mean? And it's just such a
Mhm.
weird thing because like you said, you don't want to be doing the tokenism kind of thing. You don't want to be it's like reverse race, it's racism still, but it's like reverse of what you would imagine racism to
Mhm.
be, right? Like uh people thinking that, or like, I don't know, I don't want to get too deep into that, but what I'm saying, like you want everyone to have a fair playing field basically, and just
Mhm.
like get that opportunity, which I think a lot of people just look past, women specifically, like
Yeah, and
women.
I think it's all just like broadening your horizons, like, without being accusatory or pointing fingers or, telling someone they're flat out uneducated, or, they might just be, under resourced and
Yeah.
knowing how to kind of like diversify their taste. And what I find is like, you can't be an expert in everything. You can't be an expert in knowing all styles of music left and right. You can't be an expert in knowing different musical cities and communities. You can't be an expert in, yeah, any area of life,
Yeah.
which is funny and kind of contradicts like this, big part of my job. But I think it's also important to, you know, surround yourself with a network who can turn you on to things. Like you should point blank, especially if you're in a position of talent buying or curating, like anything along those lines, like, you know, I don't know much about Afrobeat music, or I don't know much about music outside of the United States. It's outside of Google search, like just having conversations that are organic, not necessarily with like a goal, but at you know, the top of your mind, you're thinking like, how can, I make this more eclectic? Like I think those are important conversations to have, and
Yeah.
yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to people and learn more about what you don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that's always hard too, because it's like you don't even know what questions to ask when you don't know.
Mhm.
That's always what I find like myself running into. Like I just have witnessed myself do it time and time again, where I'm like, I would have never even thought to ask that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
And it's intimidating, like especially when you're bringing up sensitive topics like, you know, race and women's equality. Like I get it. Like people like, and I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes like you're afraid of saying the wrong thing or sounding undereducated, or, worrying about if people think you have ulterior motives. But I think it's, no one's perfect. We're collectively learning and growing together, and, just getting over that fear. I have no concrete advice or answers because that's kind of a journey everyone goes through on their own, and something we are all working on together.
exactly that. I think too, like social media has I don't call it bad or good. Like I don't think it's a terrible thing that everyone kind of makes it out to be. I think it's definitely a useful tool for connecting. Like that
Hmm.
post, I got 80 women tagged on that post. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
here we
awesome.
go, but um I think it how much we can communicate accelerated well beyond like what we had practiced, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, whereas the most people you're going to talk to normally would be like maybe a high school classroom where you're giving a speech is 30 people, maybe university, if you're giving a speech, might be 200, but that's like a big crowd, right?
Mhm.
Typically. So,
Yeah.
like, now you have the whole world just like, like,
Yeah.
take it easy. None of us are perfect and we're all learning together. And that's, I
Mhm.
think, what bothers me the most on both sides is like, okay, listen, not all men are pieces of shit. And you know what I mean? And not all
Mhm.
women are telling the truth. Like we have to be able to have
Absolutely.
the conversation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like it like not even to go into like a whole other layer and can of worms, but it's like cancel culture versus,
Mm,
restorative actions and course correction.
yeah,
Like,
I
that's
hate
a
cancel
whole other thing
culture.
that I think social media is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's the mob mentality, I think, where you just
Absolutely.
get so many people fired up about something can be so minuscule and people are so
Mhm.
mad at each other and so it's like take a breath. Calm yourselves. Yeah, I don't know. Social media, man. I haven't figured it out, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it is important for people to realize, like, alongside its benefits, like, it genuinely is an echo chamber. Like, there's algorithms, an elusive term, no one knows what they mean and no one knows how they operate, but screw it. Like, what it is it's serving you based on your behaviors and your interactions.
Like,
And
bye.
yeah, I mean, how else do you get served ads
Right.
by your interests? So like keeping that in mind and obviously having friend circles and you look especially like in the music scene like, oh, we have like 200 mutual friends, like I must have run into you. Like that's a little niche echo chamber. So I
Yeah.
think like sometimes getting outside of that or like I've seen people just like gang up on people on social media or people are like, hey, have you like seen like what's blowing up on so and so's thread? I'm just like, dude, I don't have time for that. Even if I did, that's just like
It's yucky.
we need to worry about what you can control and only what you can control in this world, not getting caught up in anything going on and how you could take action outside of the screen and the echo chamber. Whole
Yeah,
other
is what yeah, like that's that's the biggest thing I wish people would realize is like you're not going to change anyone's mind, by telling them. If anything, like you have to lead by example and then you do what you can in your immediate, bubble to make
Mhm.
the world a better place. And then eventually, hopefully, there's a ripple effect and the world becomes a better place. But everyone yelling at each other over nonsense and like it kills me too because it's like a lot of the time it's the liberal people and I'm like I'm liberal but like shit you can't just call all these people bootlickers and white trash and idiots and then think that they're ever gonna move their mindset, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like it's just a terrible way to approach it, if you really want to change what's happening anyway,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? uh, that I could go all day about that though. That shit drives me nuts. So okay, wait. So we talked a little bit about like trauma, not trauma, but like, what it's like to be a woman in the industry.
Mhm.
What was like your most like soaring moment? Like just like your happiest moment in music. Do you have one?
I mean, a singular honestly, I don't because I don't like to look at stuff so linear and,
Reality. Yeah.
this is like I mean, I hate it when people, like, blame stuff, like, on their zodiac or anything of their nature, but, like, okay, if you wanna, like, put me in a package and stereotype me, I'm type A as fuck. I'm a Capricorn, and I medically have adult ADHD. It's a bunch of stuff going on. Um, but like I think like a blessing and curse and all that, not to deter from the question is, like I don't always stop and like celebrate like every little win like I should.
Right.
You should be able to enjoy stuff like that, but and I think it kind of comes with just working in so many different projects, like being involved in so many different facets that it's like, hey, like okay, cool, like you crushed that project. Now, like, what's
Keep
this
going.
endeavor doing? Or like, gotta go arrange this song. So it's like, yeah, stop and smell the roses. But like, I've never really considered and honestly can't pinpoint like, oh, this is my moment. I've peaked because that's not gonna happen. We're just
Well,
gonna
you don't want that to, yeah, you don't want that to happen, right? And that would be, a scary moment, I think, if you really were like, okay, this is as good as I'm ever gonna feel. You know, and I kind of have, the second I said it, I was like, because I don't ask questions usually. I don't
Oh,
know, I just have never met you before, so I'm like,
yeah, I dig this open format. Like, yeah, let's
I
go.
like it to be conversational, but I'm like, the second it came out of my mouth, I was like, I don't have favorites. Why would I ask a favorite question? Like, I literally don't ask favorite questions usually, and that felt like a favorite
Oh,
question. But here we are. By the way, I love your plants in the background there.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a whole bookcase situation. I know.
I got some. Are they spiders? Spider plants?
That's like a spider palm tree. Honestly, I know that's a snake plant.
Yeah.
I don't know the rest.
I
Really
I'm new to house planting, but I'm about it. I'm not new to growing other stuff, but
well. Nice.
house plants, yeah. Sorry, I was nannying all day, and I'm like, I could just really use a joint. And then I had to
Hell
make, had to make your sign. I was like, no, I can't have an episode where, like, you know, because it's been up there since like episode 5 or something. So I'm like, that would be weird if there was no sign this time. And it's my lucky number, so I have to.
Nice.
Yeah, but so Matt Schooley is your drummer then? Is that what you said for?
Yeah. Also, Matt and I have known each other probably long. Like, he's one of the longest musical collaborators that I've been working with. We both played in a group called Trichome.
Oh,
We had some mutual friends playing, and I was like a super like college music nerd. I studied classical saxophone. Like, what do you even do with that? Um, but the other saxophone player in the project had linked with the guitarist in the band at their work, and then he brought me in. He was a colleague in my saxophone studio to like do some shows with them. And then Matt and I just kept in touch, like as he moved like from Greeley to Denver. Now he's in my Afrobeat band and he plays percussion. We also have like an offshoot of that project, a 5-piece kind of funk fusion band called Sleazy Grease.
oh, cool.
And
Busy
yeah,
as shit.
what did you say?
Said you're busy as shit. You're
Oh,
super.
I know. I miss the playing side of things. I feel
Yeah,
like
no kidding. Is it harder to like write and create when there's like nothing really going on in the world?
I think so because like I need to, like I was kind of alluding to, need to keep myself in line and check and like I prioritize stuff like when there's a deadline, when there's a goal, like okay, I need to get this done by this date and this needs to go out on this date. But if it's, I need to readjust my brain to be like, I'm going to write this piece of music because I feel like it, or I'm just going to pick up the saxophone for 2 hours tonight. Like, kind of got out of that cycle. It's
Yeah.
not the best of things, but I don't beat myself up over it. Different phases of life.
Yeah. It sounds like you're very like your head's very like you're doing your work to have control over it. You know what I mean? Like some of the things that you've said like kind of resonate with me just like in my self mastery, I guess. Is that, I don't know if that's how you term that, but like just trying to figure myself out, right? And it sounds like you're kind of along that same path in some.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think like a lot of it does come with like kind of a startup mentality and working with small teams and, entrepreneur business owner type mindsets where, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do and you don't have like huge teams behind you, like it's not going to get done. So it's like, buck up and do it. Like, I don't know. I personally like to write press releases and any long form copy when it's like 10 p.m. and no one's bothering me and no devices are blowing up. So I always like set aside like chunks of work for that. So I think kind of figuring out like what you do best at different times of day.
That definitely is important. I was just thinking that before we got on because I was like, I still haven't found that sweet spot, you know, because I have a 12-year-old and a 11-month-old. And so it's just like I gotta wait till the 12-year-old gets home from school or my husband gets home from work, but he always like there's no you know, he has to deal with Denver traffic. Like there's no telling when he'll be home.
Yeah, and it's like adapting is so important for all courses of life. Like I'm not the best at handling shifts sometimes, but it's like, hey, like how do you get through it and pivot? Like something we've
Yeah.
all got to do.
Yeah, and I liked what you said about like you can only control what you can control. Like stop worrying about everything else because you don't have any control over it. So like what is there to worry about really if you can't do anything anyway?
Yeah, like and I have to remind myself and others, like especially during COVID times, it's like, what can we do?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You could bitch
Uh,
about stuff being locked up. You could bitch about no live music. Yeah, it sucks. This sucks for everyone.
totally.
But you
I
know,
don't focus on that though. If I sat
what
down
do you like? What can you control? Like what are you doing right here, right now?
yeah, exactly. Which I appreciate you being here right now because
Yeah,
I couldn't do this.
break up to the day, honestly.
Yeah, I always do like to give the like if you need more time or you want to do a different day, like please let me know because it is like a weird time in the world and I do think
Mm.
that people should be doing what feels right for them in the moment and I would hate for someone to be like, okay, now I'm on camera and I'm talking to a stranger and I'm having the worst day of my fucking life, you know? So
Yeah. Oh man, I definitely have. I'm like, I didn't do my hair, honestly.
I'm a hot, I
Well,
swear I'm
see,
a
I'm
sweaty
like,
mess.
we'll just like put this thing on. Like, I guess I'll throw on some jewelry.
It's super cute. I like
Thank you.
the earrings a lot. Yeah. Okay, so tell me the name of your Afrobeats band. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, Afrobeat.
Okay.
So yeah, there's an Afrobeats style of music, which is completely different than Afrobeat singular. But
Okay.
yeah, it's it's my favorite type of music. It's a very collective effort. We have 10 people, a three-piece horn section, an incredible lead singer. Um, we have two percussionists and a full rhythm section. So it's a lot going on. And like I always think it's like super visually appealing. And one thing that draws me to the style of the music as a patron is like your eyes can wander so many places on the stage, like throughout the show, but yet like everyone like gets their spotlight and it's, you know, it's about the collective, not about one person, or like it's not like a band where it's like here's the lead singer and like everyone's the backing band. Like even the percussionist, like you'll watch like Matt and like take like extended solos. It's awesome. But yeah, the style of music within itself was founded by Fela Kuti in Lagos, Nigeria, and you know, kind of pulling influence from James Brown and lots of the social and political culture to happening in Nigeria at the time, addressing, you know, some pretty serious stuff going down there. And I think I said, yeah, like pulling the influence of James Brown and kind of like soul singers and call and response. You know, the style of music has like lots of punchy and powerful horn lines, hypnotic rhythms, you know, or like one band or one musician's playing, you know, kind of this rhythmic pattern and another musician's filling those holes. So without to get like too technical about it, that's kind of the style of music what we play.
Well, it sounds really rad. And then you said you say it Tnertle.
Yeah, we kind of mess with people because like some people are like T-Nerdle or Nerdle, but it's the childhood nickname like of our producer and band leader Trent. That yeah, what's he was called growing up, and it's, you know, it looks funny on paper, and people are always like, "What is that?" But yeah, it's pronounced Nerdle.
Y'all have played at Hody's, right?
Yeah, we played there a couple of times. Rest in peace, Hoadies.
Yeah, seriously. But I knew I saw your name up there. I feel like that's one that I always wanted to get to. So once you guys start playing again, you'll have to be like, come see us because
Yeah.
well, and your other band, but all of them, all of your projects. I just am like, I got myself stuck in an echo chamber, right? For like
Oh.
a while. I mean, it wasn't a serious one, but it was like where I have like two favorite bands and I see no one else all year, you know, or I like maybe go you know, to a few shows here and there if my friends invite me, but it's like that's so silly. There's so much music here and I'm just like not going. I don't know.
It's so much to keep track of, like, and that's like another blessing and curse of the current world that we live in. Like, you have literally all the music you want at your fingertips, like, and all this, like, you know, very smart robots curating playlists and stuff for you. Like, sometimes I'm like, man, I miss the days where I had like just like
Rant.
3 favorite bands. And then like I'll be like, oh, and like it's cool because like cool and not cool because like so much especially of like the digital platforms like curate based on like vibe and style where you know there are all these robots who collect all this data about you know tempo, style, instrumentation, mood, like it's more vibe based. So, like sometimes like be like cleaning my house, throw on like one of these robot curated Spotify playlists and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I don't know who the hell that was.
Yeah, now it's gone. Yeah, that is hard. Cause you what cause I haven't had Spotify even very long. So does it just like it just goes away? Does it stay on a playlist anywhere that you can see? Or is it just do you have to like it to be able to see it again? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, think of it like is Facebook or any platform that, you know, is basing your personal experiences off of your behavior and data. So, you know, if you're listening to one of your favorite bands, it's going to suggest artists that are similar to that in like these daily mix stations or, you know, bands that, you know, songs that you like or bands that you follow. That means that like when you get like this daily or this release radar playlist every Friday, if one of those bands or one of those songs has a new release, that's probably going to show up in there.
Well, that's cool. I need to get better at that. I literally got Spotify in like October. So this is crazy. But um it's just I get so annoyed with some of the digital stuff too cuz like my favorite band is Humphreys McGee and they're
Dude, one of my favorites.
really
Yeah.
yay. Okay, that's what because like all your what you're into so far I'm like I feel like we probably have a lot more in
Well,
common.
yeah, it's my tastes are across the board. Umphreys is like one of my first like religiously followed bands in my adult life, so we've got that one.
Yes.
Those
Okay.
more shit than just nerdy Afrobeat and
Well,
weird.
I consider Humphreys very nerdy. You know what I mean? Like I think any like I don't know. I think a lot of music and like music fans and musicians are all just like mega nerds over music, right? Like I said this last episode, I think, but like my husband is a nerd about mountain bikes and snowboarding. You
Nice.
know, it's just like a different kind of nerdiness, but it's nerdiness no less. Like it's just like, you know, your whole heart at some point. Not just like the one band, but like the whole experience in general, right?
Yeah.
But that is the problem is that okay, so I love Humphreys and I turn on like Humphreys radio and then all of a sudden I get 75 fucking Grateful Dead songs with a pigeon song and you know what I mean? I'm like, this is not, you know, give me something grittier or something. I don't know. I just like don't
Yeah, and like
understand.
it's like all the algorithmic shit. Like it, the more you're on it, the more it'll learn about you. Cool, but creepy. But yeah, and that's like, and so this was like years ago, before like they had as robust capabilities and you know as much of your information to mine through. But like I remember when they first started rolling out the feature about like bands that are similar to you or like when you go under like about similar artists, like it used to be so off course. Like ATOMGA would get like Satanist metal bands, which if you ask some of our members, like they'd be like, yes. Like, I remember like talking about it. I'm like, what's this like Pits of Hell band? And like a couple of guys were like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. That would be me. I'd be like, yes, more metal. Like,
Yeah, which is great. But then it's like, I mean, it's so smart.
but then it gets carried away the other way, and it's like,
Yeah.
no.
And it will like also like, you know, it's good for like music labels because sometimes like it'll group your band or whoever you're listening to is similar artists, like associated in that way.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think the fact that like new up and coming baby bands can have their stuff on Spotify is huge, you know, for I mean just accessibility, I guess, if nothing.
Yeah, if you've got music, anyone could distribute music.
Yeah, it's so cool. I remember like I don't know if it's always been so has it always been this easy for like to get things onto Spotify? Like
No,
do you
definitely not. I mean, you like distribution platforms like where you upload your music and it's tagged with metadata and certain codes that are exclusive to your songs and intellectual property. Um, Once that it used to be a lot harder and you didn't have as many options. It was kind of a more archaic, clunky process, but now there's a couple platforms out there that make it super user friendly, where someone could just be like, "Oh, okay, got like my mastered version of this song. I've got the cover art. I know my band's name. I know what this song's called.
yeah,
Boom, there it goes."
that's so cool. That's so cool. I need to figure it out for these videos because we're supposed to be on Spotify, but there's like some wonkiness with like Zoom recordings and like
Oh, yeah, podcasting. Like I've never gone like too far down that rabbit hole when it comes to putting that type of content out, but I know it's a whole different animal.
yeah. I bet the video is hard, but I also don't know how to get like just audio, you know, and I bet there is a just audio file on Zoom, but like I am so bad with technology. My joint keeps going out. I'm sorry. I feel like an asshole. I'm lighting it.
It-
Yeah, and that's what's goofy about me doing this in general is that I'm really terrible with technology. So I'm like, what am I doing? But that it's good to know like for every aspect of what you do, it's important to know like how Spotify works, I would imagine, and how, I mean, as far as we can understand the algorithms, kind of get to know how that should work.
Oh yeah, it's very essential to all the stuff that I do.
It's are you guys booking a lot in Denver still?
Um, yeah, as far as new conscious, so we made stuff super safe and compliant, getting high top 4-seated tables. This fall, when the first wave of restriction rollbacks happened, um, have COVID signage and protocol in place. And it was cool because we were able to do shows from 50 to 75 capacity um, in the venue, just kind of depending on the level of restrictions. And then, everything shut down and it's just reopened again. And, you see like venues putting music out there, but our biggest focal point right now is um, working on our grand reopening day. One thing that I want to emphasize about New Conscious is it's not just a music venue, it's a social club around the arts. We do have a membership
Cool.
element.
I was
That,
just gonna ask that.
yeah, so yeah, it differs than other venues because you pay your membership dues and then you're able to view some of these exclusive events and concerts. And, once you enter the venue, everything on the inside is free. And, we're booking some really cool world-class talent for our grand reopening. And we're also unveiling a mural that Kurt's working on and some other cool things to go hand in hand with that. So looking to really
Neat.
blow it up.
Do you have a
Look at
time? Huh?
I'm like next month. Look for
Oh, I
some.
was gonna say, do you have a time frame next month? Solid.
Next month will be when we're reopening.
Cool. So walk me through this private membership thing. Do you so how much is it, like is it a yearly or a monthly or how's that?
Yeah, well, so I'll walk you back to before COVID, since things are still in the works now. But we had several different options available. We had everything from single use or one-time passes because we really believe it's important. No one should have to commit before trying something out. Like come in, experience the music, experience the art, pay the one-time fee.
Yeah.
Then we offered monthly memberships, and then, if you're really committed or prefer to play in one lump sum, we offered quarterly and annual memberships.
Very cool. I like
Yeah, and so it's just like kind of a slow roll back into it in COVID times, and being sensitive to knowing that we could only do limited capacity show, knowing that, a lot of people are hurting financially. So making sure that it's priced at an accessible point that, people can experience. Um,
That's so thoughtful. I love that you consider that people don't have money. Cause like that was my biggest thing. I
we've
was
got to keep our lights on.
like, oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's like lots to consider, and
Mhm.
you know.
It's it's a lot. I mean, there's so much like red tape, you know. Um Hopefully it changes though with because now people are at least being vaccinated. So, slowly but surely, hopefully we get back to some semblance of normal. I could go without, honestly, the oversold shows. Like,
Yeah, I agree. Like
I don't like that.
there's like notoriously oversold.
Yeah, and I don't mean COVID times. I mean like straight up
Yeah,
standard
oh,
access.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And
Like,
it's going to be funny. Like I'm glad that I think as a society it'll be, incremental
yeah.
as far as how many people in a space, but like I've had conversations with friends, like I don't even know how I'm going to react when it's like a body to body sweaty concert. Like some people are like, I can't wait. And I'm like, part of me misses it, but part of me is like, oh my God, I'm going to miss like sitting at a table with like my
Exactly. Someone
friends.
comes to me. you know. It's yeah, I'm one of the ones where I'm like, I like the table situation. Like I just like because I'm a nerd and I will literally get there an hour before the show so I can be up front and look at everything happening on
Yeah.
stage because I don't know how to play instruments. I love music, but I never learned an instrument. So I'm just like, let me be close. Let me show them that I am enjoying the shit out of this. Like I want them to see my face. And it's such a weird dynamic, but it's true. Like I nerd out
Yeah.
about it, right? And so now, like I guess so that's a bummer, kind of, but at the venues I go to, they can see you from the stage.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like whatever table you're at,
Yeah.
they'll be able to see you. So like you don't need to be close for them to be able to see you because it's spaced out, right? There's
Yeah.
no people in the crowd between you. So you know what I mean? So it's weird though, because you're not like right there and I don't know. It's weird. But what I was going to say was that I always had to get there early and hold down space. And now you have
Yeah.
a table, you don't have to hold down space. You can just hang and
Yeah.
get there
There's
right.
X amount of these things available. Like I don't need to worry about having first dibs on anything.
Exactly. Exactly.
Every seat's a good seat in the house.
Exactly. And that's how it should be. I really do think that maybe like things kind of got more expensive than they needed to. Like not I want everyone to make good money, but when Ticketmaster is charging $50 on my ticket or whatever
Mm.
for fees, it's like this isn't reasonable anymore, and the bands aren't getting the money. It's Ticketmaster getting the money. You know what I mean? So, I don't know where I was going with that ramble. I just don't like Ticketmaster, I guess. I prefer local. And I don't know. I'll be excited when we get full shows though.
Absolutely.
Where you don't have to think about it. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah, and when bands can tour again, like I mean, just people's livelihoods and missing,
yeah.
a bigger pool of talent.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like, yeah, you also just like get so many different experiences because they're totally different people from
Mhm.
different parts of the world. And now it's like we're in there. I don't know. We're all in Fort Collins and nothing really is happening right now. So we wouldn't have anything to talk about if we did get together. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm just COVID. Every conversation I have comes back to that. So I'm kind of like, you know, at a loss because what can you do? You know what I mean? Like we're
And
gonna
then
talk
I'm
about
like,
it.
yeah, every little thing, I'm like, all right, what? going to relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, joke about people emailing like, "Hey, hope you're doing safe and well in these unprecedented times." It's like someone just like auto fill that in there. But yeah, and it's like, yeah, shit's still going down. Like, nothing's close to normal, and that's like, I think everyone should be mindful and talk about it. But like a large part of me, I'm like, everything's fucked. Like, things are fucked for everyone. Like, I kind of just don't want to talk about it. I kind of want to be like a hermit and just work. And yeah, again, back to the I only give a shit about things I could control.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing is that you can't control it. And also, like, you have to adapt and you have to grow and you have to do different stuff, right? Here we are. But I don't want to eat up your whole night. I don't know what time it is. Oh yeah, my computer's broke where the clock is. So I'm like, oh shit, how long have I'm sorry. But it's like getting dinner time, so I'll let you go. But it was like so very good to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much for hitting me up and glad we could chat for a few.
Yeah, and if you ever like have announcements or anything, I think I'm gonna go to more than bi-weekly because I'm like I have just ideas for more content. So if
Cool.
you ever have announcements for like live stuff or new conscious or anything, hit me up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll shoot it your way and put you on promo list so it'll just be on autopilot.
Yes, perfect. All right, awesome. It was so good to meet you. Thank you
You
so
too.
much.
I'll talk to you soon and have a good night.
Yes, you too.